Hey everybody, it's Mike, and today on Chip Damage we're doing something a little different. I'm recording this video on my birthday, and July doesn't just house my birthday, it houses the birthday of my favorite video game of all time. That's Nights into Dreams from the Sega Saturn. Yes, July 5th marked the birthday of this game that I hold very near and dear to my heart. And this is kind of a special year. This is Knights' 25th anniversary, coming just weeks after Sonic's 30th anniversary. And I think they kind of tie in together since they both came from Sonic Team. So today I just kind of want to take this opportunity right around this game's anniversary, tying into the month of Sonic, and talk about why I love this game, why it's so near and dear to me, and why I think you should play it if you haven't. And if you are a fan of this game, if you were like me and played this game growing up or discovered it later on, please let me know what you think. But yeah, I just want to take this opportunity and say, hey, out of the thousands of games that I have played and that I've owned, why this is the one that when I'm having a tough time or I just want to unwind and get my head out of, a bad place, I go to almost automatically. So to begin, I'm kind of sappy. I have a gaming tradition where every year on my birthday, the first game I want to play is Knights. I don't know why, but the first game to kind of ring in my new year, like my new age, is Knights. I think it sets a good precedent for the rest of the year. And yeah, I've continued that tradition for 25 years now. So if you've seen any of my prior videos, you know that I was one of the weirdos who had a Sega Saturn in the mid 90s. Like I had a Sega Genesis as a kid, and most kids either had that console or the Super Nintendo. But after that, most people either went right for the PlayStation 1 or the Nintendo 64. Here in the US, the Nintendo 64 was very popular, and it was kind of a 50-50 split between that and the PS1, even though in other parts of the world, like no one bought the N64. That was like a very popular console strictly here in North America, and almost everywhere else was just the PS1. But there was also a third console, as everyone knows, that even fewer people got, and that was the Sega Saturn, selling just around 10 million units worldwide. The console wasn't very popular, but hey, I had a Genesis and I loved it to death. So I wanted to get a Saturn, and I hoped that it would have sequels to my favorite games like Sonic and Vector Man and a number of other titles. And that's not really how it turned out. The Saturn is weird, was weird, and is still an oddity today. I mean, collecting Saturn games is like next to collecting Neo Geo games, one of the most expensive form of game collecting you can get into. So I was pretty lucky to have these games as a kid. And like many Saturn owners, the one game that I needed to have was this gem right here, Nights into Dreams. So if you don't know, Nights into Dreams was Yuji Naka and his team's next game after the 2D Sonic games released in 1996. The creators of Sonic decided to go in a different direction and create a new IP for the Saturn to kind of show off its 3D capabilities. And that game was Nights. So if Knights is something you've just kind of seen, I can understand why it might be hard to understand what it is. It's really a 2.5D game. Like if you've seen behind me, it's a pretty wacky looking game, but essentially all it is a time attack game where you go on a straight line. Like there's no 3D depth. It's basically up or down. You fly around as this character named Knights, and you just collect blue orbs, get them to the end of the stage, and fight a boss. There's not a lot to it, but there's the reason why this game is my favorite is a little deeper than that. There's a lot of subtlety to it, and that's kind of what I want to get into. Now, when I say this is my favorite game, I must clarify. Do I think this is the best game of all time? Absolutely not. Do I think that this game ranks up there as the most technical gameplay and the greatest technical achievement of all time? I'm not even going to say that. It doesn't even come close to that. This is just a game that has an element that I love when it comes to all media. It has heart. It bleeds heart, soul, spirit, and creativity. It's weird, it's wacky, and it's just got a heart of gold, and that's why I love it. And I want to talk about that a little bit. What is Knights actually about? Well, if you don't know, Knights is actually the story about a young boy and girl, Claris and Elliot, two kids who go to bed feeling like losers. Elliot loses a basketball game with his friends against a group of older boys, goes to bed feeling like it's his fault, that he's a loser. Claris goes to a singing audition to try out for like a school play, like a school singing event or town singing event, and gets scared or gets run off stage, and yet again goes to bed feeling like a loser. And they both go to bed just kind of dejected. And at the same time, in the dream world of Nightopia, a like kind of dream demon, like a dream monster named Wise Man, is trying to steal dream energy or the idea energy, and get into the living world, take over the world, kind of basic villain plot. And one of his top henchmen, the titular Knights, stands against him. And for whatever reason, Knights is imprisoned, and the only way that he can get out is to kind of fuse with these two children. So he chooses these two children. They kind of come to him, and they are able to fuse with Knights, free him. And doing that, they have to retrieve the idea, the dream energy from the various bosses, the henchmen of Wiseman, and the stages are insane. They don't make logical sense. Everything is very dreamlike because it takes place during dreams. And they battle their way through these crazy environments and these wacky enemies, some really memorable bosses with incredible music, until they beat Wiseman himself and they wake up feeling like winners. And you get the sense that they don't really remember what happened. Maybe they have like a vague recollection, just like in real life with dreams. But yeah, it's about these two kids saving the world. And when they wake up, they feel like winners. They go back out into the world. Elliot plays another game of basketball, which he wins. And even his opponents are happy for him, that they've seen his growth and how well he's doing. And Clarice gets her part, her singing part. She sings beautifully. And at the very end, they see each other, guided along by kind of visions of Knights, kind of, pointing them in a direction towards each other, because they don't really remember what happened during the dream, or even if they do, it's not very clear. And when they meet, that's it. The game ends. You see Clarice meet Elliot, and, we don't know what happens exactly. Simple enough plot. I was able to explain it in the last, 120 seconds fairly succinctly. But did I mention that there's something about this game? There is not one spoken word of dialogue. Other than a nonsense quote said by one of the bosses, this game has no voice acting. Now, this is 1996, where the idea of voice acting was still fairly new, but it definitely existed in video games, especially for the newer gen systems like the Saturn. And I think that's one of its strongest qualities. That's one thing I always remember about Knights. It's pantomime. It's carried almost entirely by its music and, the body language of the characters. And that's just fantastic. It tells this entire story without saying a single word. And there's something truly beautiful about that. It can't age. The voice, like if there was voice acting, the voice direction could have been bad. It could have gone in the wrong direction. But no, when it's just the music, it really can't. And that's really entrancing. And just something I always remember about Knights is that, why else do I love this game as well? Well, it's visually stunning. The Saturn had trouble rendering 3D. On paper, I believe it could end up being more powerful than the PlayStation 1, but it was just such a hodgepodge to develop for that it didn't end up being that way many times. But it seemed like Knights danced around with that, and it doesn't really look like anything else. It doesn't look like a PlayStation game. It's very distinctly a Sega Saturn 3D game, and it's just wonderful what they're able to do with the colors. Like I said, it's very dreamlike, much like the early Sonic games. Like, not everything needs to make sense. It just needs to look cool, and it does, and whimsical. And that's really what I get out of this game, is a sense of whimsy. For those who have played it, it really captures that dreamlike feeling. Yuji Naka said in an interview that he decided to set it in the world of dreams because he wanted the players to be able to meet Knights in their own dreams. And that's kind of a, arrogant thought or pretentious, but it's kind of a beautiful thought too, really. And, the message of this game is just wonderful. And let's get on a personal note, shall we? Like, I've gone to bed many times feeling like a loser, or dejected, or I failed at something. I think everybody ever has. Everyone's had those days where you just want to crawl into bed and forget the world. And, it's really this great message of Knights boosting these kids up. And maybe they remember it, maybe they don't. But the next day, them just getting up and pursuing their dreams and, meeting each other. And there's a little bit of magic to it. And there's really nothing else quite like it. Like, it's not corny. It has just a little bit of, I don't know, dare to say magic to it. Like, they just hit the nail on the head without going too corny or too over the top or too too misunderstandable. Like, it just nails it. And the soundtrack is fantastic. very recently, the Sonic Symphony was performed on YouTube, and for those who haven't seen it, please check it out. It's a 2.5 hour musical piece that covers all of Sonic's history. But during the middle of it, during the Sega Saturn melody, they played the Nights into Dreams themes to honor the fact that in one form, Sonic was playable in Nights into Dreams. And just to hear that tune, that the three notes, the da-na-na, like that brought tears to my eyes because for a game with no voices, they knew the music would have to carry it, and it really did. The credits theme, unbelievable. Dream Dreams, there's multiple versions of it. If you don't know it, please check it out. You can feel the heart. It's corny, but in the best of ways. And piece of history for the game. The one of the credits themes, Dream Dreams, like I said, was originally sung by two children, a boy and a girl. 11 years later, when the sequel, Knight's Journey into Dreams, came out, the singer, the young girl who is now a young woman, came back and re-sang that tune. And just that little bit of nostalgia, that little bit of a fan grab, that's just fantastic because unfortunately, because it was on the Sega Saturn, Knights never achieved the popularity of characters like Crash Bandicoot or obviously Mario or his contemporary in Sega Sonic. And that's a real shame because I don't know if this is a game that could have been a franchise and spawned many sequels and kart racers. Like Knights appears very often in Sega's recent efforts as kind of a cameo or a background character because, I bet they love this project behind the scenes because you can tell there's a lot of heart into it. But, it's just a franchise that not many people know about. And that's just a shame because I really do think that it is one of the best games of its era. It's just not often mentioned because not many people played it. Though I don't think it's one of the greatest games of all time on a technical level. Like, I'm not going to hold it up there as like, oh, this is better than other games. But do I think it could stand up there with legends like pseudo-platforming legends like Crash Bandicoot or Banjo-Kazooie or Mario 64? Yes, I truly do. Because I can just go into this game and play a quick level, try to beat my prior time and have a blast and just hear that music, see those visuals. And I really do think if more people played it, it would be recognized like that. So without going any further into nostalgia and kind of, sappy stories, there are some versions of Knights. There is some Knights merchandise that I have here that I would like to share with you guys. So obviously there is the original game itself, and this was originally released back in July 1996 on the Sega Saturn. And why is this such a big box? Well, that is because this was a special game. It came obviously with the game kind of case in there, which, it's just a regular CD case. But the large box housed what would be called the 3D analog controller to help you control Knights. You can use this bad boy to control Knights a little bit more finely on the 3D like thumb pad instead of just the D-pad. But quite honestly, I didn't use this thing a lot. I just used the Saturn controller. The Saturn controller D-pad was phenomenal. I had no trouble controlling Knights. I very rarely used this because I didn't want to take it out of the box. But if you look at this, you can kind of see that it was like a prototype Dreamcast controller, with the thumb pad next to the D-pad, the buttons and the triggers. Like this clearly became the Dreamcast controller later on. And the Dreamcast controller kind of clearly became the Xbox controller later on. So like you can kind of see the genesis of all that from this controller, which came exclusively with this game. Like, this is kind of hard to come by now, but if you want to play the original version of the game and you can't find this, don't worry about it. The regular Saturn controller works wonderfully. It all came in that nice case, but there were some other things. There was also right here. Now, this is a real collector's item. I love this. This is the Christmas Nights into Dreams sampler. Now, what is this? This is a very important piece of kind of Sega history. So back in the day, there was Sega Saturn magazine in the United States, and one of the issues came with this disc. It was the only way you can get it. You couldn't just run out and buy this. And this was kind of an odd demo disc for Knights. It contained 2 levels of Knights. But the catch was they were all Christmas themed. And they redid Knights to have a red color scheme instead of his typical purple, with kind of like a Santa pom-pom on the end of his hat. And it was awesome. Like there was more of a Jingle Bells theme to the Knights music. The bosses were all Christmas themed. And there were some very cool extras. There was like a music mode. There was like collectible images of like Knights memorabilia. There was like a music mixer mode. And two of the most famous features is, number one, depending on what holiday you play this on, the game would change. If you played as on April Fool's, you would play as Rila or Riala. Knights' rival, kind of like the Shadow the Hedgehog to his Sonic the Hedgehog. If you played on New Year's, on the title screen, it would say like Happy New Year, things like that. Like just little nice bonuses. But the real catch with this was the fact that you could play as Sonic the Hedgehog only on this disc. Yes, if you had this disc, you can select Sonic the Hedgehog mode and run around in Knights' stage on the ground as a 3D Sonic the Hedgehog. His first playable, like fully 3D kind of playable form. Before Sonic Jam, Sonic World, and all that, like you could run around as Sonic in a full 3D environment. He had like an insanely high like triple jump, and it's really wild. These are kind of hard to come by now. You can still get them at a pseudo regular price, but they're getting rarer. If you can hunt this down, if you're a Sonic fan, this is the reason why Knights' music was featured in the Sonic Symphony, which I just could not believe. Like I said, it broke my heart. But if you can hunt this down, definitely worth it just to play Sonic in those levels. This Christmas Knights got a full retail release in Japan, which is much easier to find. So if you have a Japanese capable Saturn, you can just get Christmas Knights in a full retail release, way cheaper, way easier to get. So this is something to look at. Has a nice solid case instead of just the sleeve, which the other version comes with. So yeah, you can hunt it down that way. And this little disc, which started it all, this came with most Sega Saturns of the day. The demo disc that had Nights into Dreams, and man, this is what made me want it. I saw Sonic Team. I played this demo like 40 times before I finally got this game for my birthday. Like I said, this July 5th, this 2 weeks before my birthday, this game released, and I just begged my parents to get it. And man, was I happy with it. Like, yeah, I was alone. Like every other kid was playing Crash Bandicoot or Mario 64, but you know what? I was pretty damn happy with Nights into Dreams. And after that, there really wasn't much for Knights. Like I said, he had cameos in Sonic Adventure as a in the pinball machine, and Sonic Adventure 2, and the background of Shadows levels, like the Sega Tennis games, all this, and then in 2007, a whole 11 years later, we got the announcement of this, Knights Journey into Dreams. And this pissed me off because this meant I had to get a Wii, and I did not want a Wii. I wanted to just play on my 360 or my PS3, my HD consoles with achievements and trophies. And I didn't want, I'm like, why is my favorite character relegated to the motion control, SD console? But whatever. I ended up playing this game, and yeah, I don't think it's quite as legendary as the original, but it's still pretty good. I was surprised. It has a bit more of a juvenile feel. There is full voice acting, but the voice acting's not bad. The whole game has more of a UK British sense to it, the way the characters speak. Knights themselves has a UK accent. I really love it. It was charming. Like there were some transformation abilities added, the ability to turn into a rocket, a dragon, and a dolphin. A lot of characters reappeared. You can unlock the original characters from Nights into Dreams. The characters in this are, I believe, Helena and William, but you can unlock Clarice and Elliot. Just lots of cool nods to the original. I don't know if it was a straight sequel or a reboot because the story's kind of the same, but hey, it's Dream Logic anyway. It's a solid title. Like the controls, it controls well enough. I don't think it quite has the whimsy and the mysticism of the original, but what can? I mean, Nights into Dreams is Nights into Dreams, but this is worth checking out. It's still cheap. I think it's a gem that not many people play, and I know it didn't sell well because I happened to work in a video game store at the time of this game's release, and no one bought this but me. That's a real shame. It came with a behind-the-scenes DVD, which I have multiple copies of because nobody wanted. They kind of talk about the development and how hard it was to get this on the Wii, and sadly enough, I don't think we're ever going to get a third one, but hey, we got a second one. We also got what you've been seeing behind me this whole time. In the early 2011-2012 time frame, there was an HD re-release of Nights into Dreams on the PS3, the 360, and Steam, and I could not believe it. That was enough. That wasn't, I mean, a sequel, sure, but just to have the ability to not need to, drag out my Sega Saturn and play this game on an HD console was unbelievable. The fact that I was able to just plug in and play, get achievements in HD, that was wonderful. And they added some nice bells and whistles to this HD version, which is still available to this day. They added most of the features from Christmas Nights. You can go into a Christmas Nights mode. However, you cannot play Sonic the Hedgehog in that mode for whatever reason. I think that's a real shame. I think that's a silly thing to remove. There were a few little extras also removed from it, but hey, Christmas Nights still exists in that version. Also, there's the ability to play in the new shiny graphics, which you've been seeing, but also the Sega Saturn version. You can play with like old, not smoothed out polygonal Sega Saturn graphics on the new HD version, and that's wonderful. My only gripe with the whole version is that there's no physical disc version, at least not in the United States. There is a PS2 version in Japan, but as far as the latest version, the Steam PS3 360 version, it's digital only. Which is a real shame. I mean, if you have an Xbox One or an Xbox Series S or X, you can, of course, bring it over and play it like that. That's what you've been seeing behind me this whole time, and it still looks wonderful. I think these games' visuals has just a charm because it didn't go for realism. It went for a dreamlike quality, and it really captured it. Also, the last thing, and if you haven't seen my prior video on this, please check it out, but I'll just talk about the fact that First Four Figures, some of the best statue makers in the business, did a Knights statue, and as you can see, it's a real beauty. There was only, I believe, 500 of these made, this version that you see here, and I love this thing so much. There's soon going to be a Rila figure, however you want to say it, and we will be doing an unboxing video on that, so please be sure to check it out. But yeah, just to close, I love Nights into Dreams. When I'm feeling down, when I'm feeling low, when I feel like Clarissa or Elliot did on the nights that they went to bed in this game, I play Nights. Whenever there's a big event in my life that's sad or difficult, I play this game to just kind of clear my head and remember, hey, it'll be okay. I'll find that strength to just move on. And I know that's a corny sentiment, but I think we all have that game. Of course, I love Sonic and I love Metal Gear and Final Fantasy. And these are like my favorite game franchises that I could say are the best. But the one that makes me feel the best to just play, that refreshes me in that weird way that very few other forms of media can, is Nights into Dreams. I just hear that music and boom, I got it. So yeah, just want to say I love this game. I want to know also, have you played this game? Was this game special to you? When did you discover it? Were you a weirdo like me who had a Saturn? Did you come to it later? Did you go to it because it was made by Sonic Team? Do you hate this game? Is this game too weird for you? I don't care. If you don't like it, that's fine. But yeah, Nights into Dreams is that game that is stamped on my heart, and I just wanted to share that with you. So please look forward to future videos as we continue the month of Sonic. Please look forward to more Knights-related content when that Rila figure finally arrives on my doorstep in the near future. Please let me know what you would like to see in the future. My name is Mike. This has been Chip Damage, and take care of yourself. Take care.